Did you know that Japan was once governed by an American general? And this general changed the course of Japan's history with his decisions. General Douglas MacArthur was the U.S. commander of the Pacific Front in World War II. In 1945, after Japan surrendered following 2 nuclear bombs, his 6-year mission in Japan began. So, what exactly did MacArthur change in Japan? During World War II, Japan was a military empire. Civil institutions were weak. The army stood at the center of politics, a state surviving through war and conquest. MacArthur transformed this system into a liberal democracy. Until these years, Japan was under the Meiji regime. The Meiji regime began in 1868, when Japan came fully under imperial rule. It was a period when the foundations of modernization were laid. Industry was established, and a modern army was built. But these developments also brought Japan's militaristic expansion policy. In the wars with China in 1894 and with Russia in 1904, Japan turned into a military empire. This empire collapsed after the heavy defeat in World War II, and MacArthur redesigned Japan. The most fundamental change MacArthur made was the Constitution. In 1947, a new constitution drafted by MacArthur and his team came into force. With this change, Japan's governance shifted from the emperor to the people. The Meiji era, based on the 1889 constitution, came to an end. The emperor remained only in a symbolic role. What did the new constitution include? With MacArthur's constitution, all men and women were granted the right to vote. For Japanese women, this was the first time, and in 1946, they went to the polls. The Constitution guaranteed human rights, freedom of thought, and civil liberties. Because of this, all political prisoners arrested during World War II were released. Military teachings were removed from the education system. The most striking article of the new Constitution was the renunciation of war, pacifism. Article 9 prohibited Japan from using war as a sovereign right and from maintaining armed forces. It put the country on a pacifist path. The imperial army was disbanded. Only a small self-defense force was left. MacArthur's goal was to prevent Japan from returning to its militaristic and expansionist past. In the new era, one of MacArthur's biggest changes was in the economy. Before the war, Japan's economy was controlled by giant conglomerates and feudal landlords. MacArthur issued directives to dissolve the big holding companies. Among them were Mitsui and Mitsubishi. Through land reform, the estates of large landlords were expropriated and sold to landless peasants. After this reform, agricultural production increased. The purchasing power of the countryside rose, creating demand for industrial goods.
Another major change MacArthur made in the economy was in industry.
Laws were enacted granting Japanese workers the right to organize. For the first time, workers gained the right to form unions and to strike. This improved working conditions. But in 1947, the planned nationwide general strike was banned by MacArthur himself, fearing it could cause chaos. Thanks to MacArthur's constitutional and economic reforms, Japan transformed from a devastated economy in 1945 into a steadily growing economy by the 1950s. Early monetary and fiscal stabilization policies and American credits and aid revived the economy. Then came the Korean War, a true catalyst. Japan became the logistical base for UN forces, supplying war materials to the US. This gave Japan a huge opportunity for growth. By the late 1950s, Japan had become one of the world's largest economies. The group that benefited most from the 1947 Constitution was women. Equal rights with men were recognized by the Constitution and new laws. Changes in the Civil Code expanded women's rights in marriage, divorce, and property. In MacArthur's office, on the drafting team, there was also a woman, Beate Sirota. She played a key role in writing the articles on women's rights. This period also saw a major expansion of civil liberties. Shintoism was removed as the state religion, and freedom of belief was granted. Newspapers, once censored, began publishing freely. The political police, Toko, was dissolved. This freed people from persecution for their ideas. Social reforms laid the groundwork for individual freedoms and social justice in Japan. They created a more egalitarian society. After the 1947 elections, MacArthur declared, "This is democracy." He praised the Japanese people for quickly adapting to change. Indeed, during the occupation, the Japanese embraced free elections, freedom of expression, and other democratic practices promoted by MacArthur. These reforms moved Japan away from its militarist and totalitarian past, toward a society that internalized modern values. MacArthur's reforms shaped not only Japan's internal transformation, but also its international position and relations with the U.S. From 1947 onward, the world was entering the Cold War.
Japan became one of America's most important allies in Asia.
After 1948, occupation policies entered a reverse course. The U.S. redefined priorities, positioning Japan as a bulwark against communism and a strong economic partner.
MacArthur's tenure ended in April 1951, after he clashed with President Truman over policy during the Korean War. But the strategic U.S.-Japan relationship he laid the foundations for continued. During the Cold War, Japan played a key role in the free world bloc. It kept military spending low and boosted its economy. It aligned with U.S. interests in the region. Thus, two nations that had fought as enemies became close allies within a few years. Through MacArthur's vision, Japan became a peaceful, democratic, and prosperous nation in the Asia-Pacific. For the U.S., it became a reliable partner and forward base. This mutual relationship served as a stabilizing force in Asia during the Cold War, and it helped a war-torn nation regain international respect.